Ghost demon possessions? But are they real? So let's see what questions we have only on Paranormal, True or False. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. Did they make contact with a ghost? As these paranormal investigators are using this device to detect paranormal activity, suddenly the object on top of the iPad starts to move. Is this a ghost moving this object? Is this some sort of magnetic activity? They're using this object like it's a planchette on top of a Ouija board. Are they getting answers? It's a very common belief that it is fairly easy for ghosts and spirits to move electronic devices and alter electronic devices and impair electronic devices. Is that what was happening there? Could a string be used? Yes. Is a string being used? It's possible. Could this be caused by a vibration in the floor? Because the investigators are moving, and anything on a screen of a tablet has an easier time sliding. But this is doing a little bit more of a spin. So for me, it's either vibration in the floor or it's really paranormal. I just wish I knew a little bit more about the device that they're using. Can you burn a Ouija board? This clip is kind of one of those things that causes me to question the reliability of Ouija boards because of pranks like that. But you can also get one person, like the guy on the left, who thinks he's hearing something and maybe he's trying to scare one of his friends, and all of a sudden the planchette starts moving. But is it really moving on its own, or is someone pushing it? Either way, they decide they're finished playing it, don't know if they closed it correctly, and they decide to set it on fire. And what's funny is when he puts the Ouija board on top of the flames, it almost smothers the flames, and then it doesn't look like it wants to catch on fire. Are they defying gravity? As this driver goes through the cemetery, he stops the car at what is known as the cursed tree. He then places the car into neutral and takes his foot off the brake. And what appears to be driving forward as a downward slope, when he puts the car in neutral, it starts going backwards uphill. Because it's at a cemetery, they're claiming this is paranormal activity. There are actually many roads like this around the world that have this optical illusion where it looks like you're rolling uphill. In reality, he's actually on a slope that's driving forward uphill, but he's actually rolling downhill. And right here, if you pay attention to the road and don't look at the grass, you could see that you're on an uphill slope with the nose pointing upward. The terrain itself is trying to lure you into this belief that you're looking downhill, but you're actually looking uphill. So it's a simple optical illusion, and it's not supernatural, paranormal, anything. Is this toy possessed? In this shop in England, a Mickey Mouse doll suddenly shows up on camera and then face plants. The owner is convinced this doll is haunted. The doll appears to get a running start before it face plants, which would make it more difficult to use string to pull it. But could somebody be off camera and just kind of shoved it forward, causing it to have that running effect? And if this is a security camera, it's a horrible camera. This type of blue tint that I'm seeing in this video reminds me of a visual effect where it can turn the film into a blue color. You can see with just a color correction how much you can alter an image from the original to a tinted blue version. And this is not an effect, this is a color correction. Visual effects can be extreme as this in changing the color. So I don't know if there was real footage here or if they're hiding their participation in influencing that object. But I'm not convinced this one's paranormal. What do you think on this one? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. What caused this toy to move? As the child moves in the upper right hand corner, it appears that the dump truck is also moving in the bottom corner. It is so subtle, and yet the camera operator is moving the phone just a little bit that they're recording on. So it's almost like you can't see it moving, but it is moving just a smidgen. My guess is because it's on wheels, that floor is probably vibrating or moving because of the child moving on it. So I think this is vibration that is causing these little twitches with the dump truck. I'm sorry, that's not a dump truck, is it? Is it one of those bulldozers? It still looks like a dump truck to me. Whatever, it's a kid's toy that's on wheels. Even with speeding it up, it that actually causes the camera movement to speed up. So I have to wonder if it's an optical illusion because the camera's moving, it looks like the truck is moving. Not convinced this one's paranormal. Is this a shadow person? Once again, we are in a cemetery, and suddenly, when they pan to the left, it appears that there's a shadowy figure standing between those two stones. Is that a real person? Is that a ghost? Are they in danger? It disappears. It's incredibly creepy, and I think if I was there, I would be creeped out by that figure. But I think it might be an optical illusion. I think the cross tombstone is causing that optical illusion. It's just a combination of the angle of the flashlight and not hitting that cross in a manner that makes it look like a cross. So even though it looks spooky, and I would definitely have hair rising on the back of my neck if I wasn't analyzing this in the middle of the day. I just think our eyes are fooling us on this one, and it's simply that cross that's creating a shadow. What are these creatures in the woods? As the camera operator points his camera around the woods, it seems like he might have caught something on his camera. What is that? Should he run? Should he hide? Is it alive or is it dead? Is it a camera glitch that's just not picking up and capturing the living person that's walking there? And doesn't it look like there's a second person further back or further away? This is one of those where it's really creepy, but I feel like it might be a glitch with the camera in which the IR sensor doesn't reach that far, the light from the IR sensor doesn't reach that far, and it's kind of just blurring out or pixelizing the person that would be there. Is this a ghost? This time the camera operator is in a cemetery when suddenly he sees someone sitting by a gravestone. He calls out to her, and when she turns and looks at him, he just freaks himself out and runs. So I did the best I could at trying to make this image more clear, so that we can actually see the definition of this person sitting by this tombstone. But nothing I really do improves the quality of the footage. But we can see someone sitting there. But that doesn't make them a ghost. That just makes them a grieving person who's sitting by a loved one that they lost. So I don't know why this is passed off as paranormal. She's obviously not transparent. Is this a cat ghost? This cat toy has a remote control attached to it. The remote is at the bottom of our screen, but the cat toy seems to be moving on its own. Is this just an electronic glitch, either within the toy itself or with the remote control? We know that sometimes when you turn on a TV, it'll cause a walkie-talkie to click, or the walkie-talkie will cause the TV to click. So I just wonder if it's that type of mechanism where maybe there's another remote or their cell phone or something might be triggering something within this cat toy. But it could also be a child spirit or a cat spirit, maybe even a dog spirit. My guess is that it's an electronic glitch, but it could be real. What is this odd light? There appears to be a very bright light that comes off of this headstone at the end of this road. What caused this bright light? Is it paranormal? Or is it just the stone itself has reflection from the headlights? Is it an optical illusion? Is it simply the headlights managed to catch that stone in just the right manner that for a second we have a reflection, but then the angle changes and we no longer get that reflection? It is intriguing, and we do know that oftentimes you will find this type of a light orb in a graveyard. but I just wish I saw that stone better to know if it had a reflective surface. Is this man being attacked by a spirit? On the left-hand side, we see a gentleman playing a video game when suddenly his hat flies off his head and he takes off running. But on the right-hand side, it looks like somebody's hiding behind that boom box. Is this a pissed off parent ghost that wants him to clean his room, quit gaming, do his chores? Is this staged? Is whatever's on the left-hand or right-hand side, are they actually outside looking in through the window and just used a string to pull his head towards the ceiling? This is one of those where I can see how you could stick a hook up in the ceiling and then just sit on the floor underneath the camera or out of frame of the camera and just suddenly just yank that hat right off his head with a string. So I'm not sure if this one is real or not. I just can see how it could be staged. Is this an angel leaving Earth? As we watch this footage, suddenly we'll see a woman come up to the side of the house and stop. And then she gets yanked into the sky and disappears. Is this somebody that was just killed or just died and their spirit is leaving their body and leaving the earth? Is this an angel? I'm not sure if this is CG. I don't think it's a video effect. I do want to see if I can somewhat recreate the coming into the space and then zooming out of the space. Again, I'm not trying to be exact. I'm trying to just see if I can imitate in any regard by reducing the opacity and then animating it to move into the screen and then out of the screen. So it may be real, but it could also be computer trickery. This is an imitation of sleep paralysis. I'm going to give this video clip the benefit of the doubt that what they tried to recreate is what it's like to have sleep paralysis. You would be in bed, asleep, but be aware that that's where you're at when something comes at you and it gets closer and closer and it's creepy. But unlike this where they've got a cell phone or a camera working, you can't move, you can't scream. I actually have had a couple of these episodes and it is very creepy. But if you recognize that you're asleep and you force yourself to wake up, you will overcome this and be fine. But it does take you recognizing you're asleep and you're in a dream state, that somehow in your dream state you combined this dream world with your real world of being in your bed asleep. So I'm hoping that's what this video clip is about. They're trying to demonstrate what it's like to have sleep paralysis. And yes, this is pretty much what it's like. And that paralysis of not being able to move, get away from it, it just adds to the fear and the anxiety and how terrifying sleep paralysis can be. Is this ghost still working? So as this camera is pointed into this building, we see what looks like a ghost. It sees the camera and disappears, but it ducks down under the desk to disappear. It also looks a lot like Casper or his friends. Are we looking at a real ghost? Or is this someone in one of those green screen type suits, but it's all white, and they've just increased the opacity to make it transparent? Does that explain why it had to duck down under the table to get out of frame of the camera? Or is this a real ghost? I don't know why, but everything just screams at me that this is not real. It's CG or it's someone in a suit. What do you think on this one? Leave a comment below. Is this an alien in this attic? As this individual lowers the ladder in order to enter the attic, he doesn't really see anything when he first pops up there. But he looks around to try and see what he could find, and then he comes back down. But as he comes back down, a fish can be seen. What is that thing? It doesn't appear to be transparent. Is it demonic? Is it a space alien? Is this staged? Is it a prank or a hoax? Is it a possessed doll? It comes across to me as a human being in a costume. I just don't know if the guy that went up into the attic is in on the staging, the hoax, or the prank. Is this a shadow person? As this camera is pointed into this room, it's pointed at a weird angle, and it doesn't really appear to be pointed at a door, but just in the room in general. But then the light starts flickering on and off, and then we will see what appears to be a ghost. It just suddenly materializes, temporarily disappears behind the column, then we see it again at the top center of our screen before it disappears. This is a very blurry image if this is a security camera. Even everything in the foreground is blurry, not just the figure walking. So that's very unusual for this camera to have 100% blurring. This just makes me think it's editing effects and a living person. What is this creepy creep doing? On the left side of our screen, we will suddenly see a black figure crawling across the road. What is that? Is it animal or human? Is it dead or alive? I actually sped the film up so that you wouldn't be sitting here for a minute watching this thing just slowly crawl. But we can see an animal in the background that wasn't reacting to it. But now I've zoomed in on this and now I'm panning in to try and get a better look. And I'm pretty sure it's just a human being in some type of costume. I don't know if they're drunk, lost, hurt, or what, but yeah, I don't think it's paranormal. Is this dog a ghost? In the distance, we will see a child running with a dog behind them. But for a split second, the dog disappears. Sorry, I haven't learned how to blur out a face, so that's why I keep putting something over a child's face. But right here, the dog actually passes her, but because the dog blends in with the fence, you don't see the dog again until it comes back out into the light. He just looks like a blob in a blur because he was running so fast and in such an odd angle, on top of the fact that he blends in with the fence behind him, and then he runs into the shadow. What we have is an optical illusion where he passes her, but then she passes him, and then he comes out from behind her. So we have the atypical Hollywood movie of capitalizing on light, shadow, and camera angles. Is this a ghost? So this is one of those rare videos where we actually get to see the full environment before we see the actual paranormal or what is being claimed to be paranormal. So apparently this is where it all took place. Now we'll get into the clip, and you can see right there, there is something white in the distance that walked on the other side of that fence that we just saw. Is it an animal? Is it human? Is it a camera glitch due to IR sensor or data marge or whatever that's called? Or is it a ghost? Again, this is the environment, and apparently just on the other side of this fence is where that activity occurred. So there is space for a living human being to walk. There is also a path for them to walk. My guess is camera glitch. What's yours? Is this a stalker? As this child is singing into the recording behind her, supposedly a closet, it looks like a head has peeked out at her, and then it starts reaching for her. Is this really a closet? Is this really a ghost? They are not transparent, so is it a family member? Are they pranking her? Zoomed in, brightened it, changed the color to see if we can see it better. The eyes remind me of those glasses you can wear that have the springs in them. My guess is they're probably a family member just pranking her. Are we witnessing a possession and an attack? So the writing says girl possessed by demon. So they are definitely claiming this is paranormal. Something is flashing on the wall behind the girl. Initially she was looking at it, but now she's being attacked by something under the bed. So we have the spastic person that walks into the room. Then suddenly something appears from under the bed and grabs the foot and then yanks the child under the bed. So I don't think we've captured paranormal activity. What I think we've done is created paranormal activity. Is this a poltergeist moving these objects? So suddenly at the bottom lower corner, the step ladder will slide down the wall and slide on the slippery floor, startling the woman. As she goes over to deal with it, it slides more and it freaks her out, so she walks away. She also cusses. She gives herself a minute to calm down, then she goes over, picks it up, realizes it won't stay up against that wall, so she moves it and puts it up against the other wall. Which does kind of tell us that this corner doesn't have an opening to it, so that's good to know that there's not somebody off camera right there that pushed it. She finishes up what she's doing and she leaves the room, but then the trash can falls. She turns, looks, sees it, and decides not to come back in. I have mixed feelings on the ladder because I know that some floors and some angles, ladders will just fall on their own. Initially with the trash can, I thought that maybe she had kicked it or moved it herself. But when I watched it again, I noticed that she really doesn't touch it, kick it, throw anything into it, and she's about 3 feet from it before it moves. Could all of this be staged or be a prank? Could this be staged with string? Could there be someone just off camera or out of frame that is pulling these things down with a string? Possibly. I just am always skeptical when there's paranormal activity involving large and heavy objects. Please let me know in the comments if my analysis nailed it or failed it. The links for other social media platforms for this channel and for Jim is in the description below. Always be safe. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. There are many more videos you can watch, and you can click on the attached playlist card to see some of them. Thanks for watching Paranormal, True or False.